you so much. And first of all, we want to welcome you in the state of Minnesota. As you know, we have close to, well, we have 1 second here, 1 second. We have over 12,000 rideshare drivers in the state of Minnesota. And per an article that came a few days ago by Star Tribune, they did a ride with a rideshare driver from a group that leads one of the largest majority rideshare driver group known as Mulder members. And so this was a way for Star Tribune to really find out what's going on. So first of all, we are really glad that Revo Rideshare is a new company, and it wants its presence felt here in the state of Minnesota and many other states also. And if a lot of people are not aware, Revo Rideshare officially launched in the state in Miami on March 1st. And so I'm gonna leave this to you now, and I would like to ask you, first of all, who is Paul, who is leading this Revolution Rideshare company?
Well, I'm nobody important, but I will just tell you. So I was born and raised in Texas. I've been in business and owned different businesses over the last 30 years. And I had a mentor when I was 23. And one of the biggest things he taught me was you got to find a big problem. If you find a big problem, if you come up with a big solution and you do right by people in the process, you can, get a big paycheck. And I like big paychecks, but I also like to do things that are based on helping people that are a win-win for everyone. And so just a quick background on my business is my business partner, a gentleman named Tony Swantek, and we built different businesses around the world. We built businesses in the network marketing space. We built businesses in traditional business when it comes to I own jewelry stores. I owned a company that was one of the biggest gold buying companies in the U.S. And everything I've always done was out to help people and do everything I possibly could to help people. And so over the last, year or so, I've been looking at something and wanting to do something different. We built a company in the delivery space that was a company called My Town, the number 2 Go. We ended up with about 300 cities. And it was back whenever, delivery was just getting started. And so we did it kind of pretty much the same way all the other companies did. We charged the restaurants 15 to 30%. And it just got to a point where we realized that wasn't helping the restaurants. The drivers weren't making as much money as they should have. And so we ended up selling out to some larger companies, but I always knew there was a way to do it different. So about 2.5 years ago, we started a company called Snap Partners, where we bring in different product lines and services that we know are going to be valuable and help people. When we look at anything, there's 3 things that we look at. The first thing is it has to bring value to our client or customer. The second, it has to bring value to those that are doing the work, those that are drivers, those that are independent reps in our companies. We have to make sure that it does that. And then the third is we want to make sure that it's bringing value to those who work in our corporate offices, that are in our support staff, that are making sure those that are in the field are doing well and that our customers are taken care of. And so I started looking at about 6 months ago, I started looking at rideshare. And I have driven, when we started our delivery company, I probably did, 5 to 10,000 deliveries when we started it. And I went through a divorce about 10 years ago. And one morning I woke up and I didn't have a lot of money in my bank account because somebody that I was about to be unmarried to had taken a lot of it. I went and did riding. I went and did driving for, Uber and Lyft. I still to this day go out and do it. And I travel a lot. I do a lot of seminars and speaking around the world. And I rode with drivers. I was in the car with a driver almost every single day. There were times in Vegas, like in January or in December, I went out to Vegas and I was in a car 4 times or 6 times every day. I was going to different places with Lyft and with Uber. And I've been talking to drivers and I started figuring out the things that they hated. Why are these companies taking advantage of drivers when the drivers are the most important part? I mean, you got to have the customers, obviously, they're important. They're the ones paying the money. But on top of that, you got to have drivers that are happy with what they're doing. And in the beginning, Uber and Lyft came in and then they were really, they took out the taxis. They changed a lot of the way things were fundamentally done. But then now they've become those companies that take advantage of a lot of people. And so we started looking at how could we do it. I couldn't, listen, there was no way I was going to go out and be able to compete with Uber and Lyft when they had hundreds of millions of dollars. You know, they're publicly traded companies. They take all that money, they put it into advertising. You can't put on TV, you can't watch the Super Bowl. They put all that money into advertising, and they're a technology company. So instead of caring about the drivers, I started looking at the things that drivers hate. Drivers put all this wear and tear on their car on a daily basis. They're spending, sometimes I talk to drivers, they're spending 8 to 10 hours a day making enough money, but they're doing it because they want freedom. They're doing it because they want to be able to have time with their families. They're doing it because they don't want somebody to tell them what to do on a daily basis. But then at the end of the day, the company that they're working with is trying to pay them the least amount possible and work them the most they possibly can so that they can create money for their shareholders. And so my partners and I started looking at how could we do this differently? And how could we make sure that we pay the people that are actually doing the work? So we put together a program. We spent the last 4 months building a software program. I have amazing software developers that not only are amazing, they actually care. And we put together a program so that if a driver gets started with us, so I'll go through it as quickly as I possibly can. We can get you videos and on our rideshare app and things of that nature. But anyone that gets involved with our company becomes a marketer for us. If you're a driver, you are going to want to have your clients that get in your car with other companies, you'll have a link that customer will from then on be linked to you. If I'm a driver in Minnesota, let's say a lot of people travel into Minnesota, maybe not so much during these months right now when it's 422 below, but I'm just kidding.
Actually, it's been a lot warmer than expected.
Has it?
So trust me, yes,
Oh, that's
yes, yes.
awesome.
We
So
had one
maybe
of
I'll
the
come
greatest
visit you soon,
winter.
man.
We had one of the greatest winter. So yeah, don't make fun of Minnesota. Just let it be. You're coming
I'm
here.
just
We welcome
messing with
you.
you. I went there one time. Listen, I'm a Texas and a Florida boy, and I was in Minnesota one time, and it was in August, and it was so cold, and I'm like this is perpetuating what everybody says. But I know it's how beautiful it is. But let's say you're a driver in Minnesota and you have someone that gets in your car from Florida. They don't have the Revo Ride app. They've never heard of us. And just for a record, Revo stands for revolution. And that's what we want to create is a worldwide global revolution that we don't need to, listen, my partner already has a plane. He doesn't need 5 more. We don't need to make a lot of, I want to do something that puts a dent in the universe and takes care of people and helps people. So let's say you're a driver. If you're a driver in Minnesota, if you want to get paid today, you got to drive. If you want to get paid tomorrow, you got to drive. If you get paid want to get paid anything, you got to drive. And so I wanted to put together something where drivers at some point could have a residual income and maybe take an extra day off. And I'll tell you how that works. So the driver with our program, there's 2 different aspects to it. There's a referral side of it, and then there's the driver side of it. The driver keeps everything but $1 of the mileage. Now, we have everything built in the same. There's surge pricing, there's waiting time pricing, there's all those things. And my guys are tweaking this on a daily basis. But what we do is we make sure that the customer is going to pay less. They're going to pay a little bit less than what they pay with Uber and Lyft. It may not be extravagantly less, but it's going to be less. And then the driver will get to keep everything but $1 out of that, out of their mileage. And it'll all be transparent. You know, I was with a driver in Utah. I had to take an hour ride. It was Lyft, and I used the highest level. I was charged $263 before the tip. I talked to that driver. That driver only got $95 of that. And it just blew my mind how much they weren't getting paid. And so I want it to be transparent. So just remember that dollar in a second. I'll tell you where that goes. So the dollar goes into our referral pool. Then the customer has a choice. The customer will either pay $5 a ride, every single ride. They'll pay $5 a ride on top of their mileage. That goes into our referral program. Or if they take more than 6 rides a month, which a lot of people do, they can pay $30 a month and get unlimited when it comes to the referral program. They're still going to pay the mileage, but they could pay that $30 a month and get unlimited instead of paying $5 a ride plus the mileage. Or they can choose by yearly. Instead of paying $30 a month, they can pay $250 a year, and they save $110. Now, the mileage, like I said, goes to the driver except for $1. Now I'm going to talk about those referral fees. if you get me in your car as a driver and I'm a customer and I download the app, you'll have your own code. You can use your own QR code. You'll have your own back office to track everything. But if I get in your car in Minnesota and I live in Florida and you use your referral code and I sign up, now every time, if I do a ride where I pay $5, you're going to make 20% of that. So every time I do a ride, you're going to make $1. Now, if I choose the $30 a month and I play the unlimited, you're going to make 20% of that $30. You'll make $6 a month. If I do the yearly, you're going to make 20% of that $350. You're going to make $50. And the customer gets to choose. But on top of this, if you're a driver and you want to refer customers, you can do that. What if you had 1,000 customers over the next year that were directly tied to you and on our affiliate referral program? And there's some other bonuses and some other levels and things that we pay out, but I'm keeping it simple. If you had 1,000 customers on a monthly basis that paid that $5 and did one ride, you'd make an extra $1,000 a month. How many of you think that might give you the opportunity to take an extra day off? Maybe start saving some money, maybe start investing. And then on the driver side of it, that dollar, if you're a driver and you recruit another driver, that $1 you're going to make 20% of that. And I know 20 cents doesn't sound like a lot, but the average driver does probably 10 to 15 rides a day. Let's say that average driver does 10 rides a day at 20 cents because you referred them to the company. You make $2 a day off of that person. Now that doesn't sound like a lot, right? But let's say you have drivers and people that you know around the country, and over time, maybe it takes you a year, but you get 200 drivers at $2 a day. That's $400 on a daily basis. That stuff can add up. Now, I'm not telling you that's going to happen. Most people will never do that. But my goal is to give people the opportunity. If you're the one out promoting the company as a driver, shouldn't you share in the profits of the company? I know they have referral programs for some of these others, but it's a one-time deal where you get paid one time.
Those are usually not enough, and they're set up
The
in a
referral?
way that they have it, but
I tell people all the time, it's like, if you refer someone, they got to do 72 rides on a Tuesday holding an umbrella with one shoe on. There's all kinds of hoops you got to jump through.
before
I
you
don't
get
want that.
Yes.
I want you, if you're a driver and you have another driver, and that's going to help you support them, want to help you, you're going to encourage them to do more, but you're going to get paid every time they do it. If you have customers and you built up a customer base around the country, every time I get into a Lyft now, I usually take the higher level. I have a driver that usually gives me their own business card and says, hey, instead of using if you're in town for a little bit, use me instead of using that, and instead of using one of the platforms, which doesn't make any sense to me because now Uber and Lyft have become a marketing arm for a lot of these drivers. And guess what? If that driver gets caught doing that, they're going to get deactivated. That's another reason why I looked at this, is a lot of times drivers get deactivated for no reason except the customer didn't want to pay the fee, or the customer got an attitude, or whatever. Listen, I know there's going to be bad drivers. I know there's going to be people that aren't doing things, but we're going to incentivize people to do better. We're going to incentivize the better drivers are going to, be one of the things I want to have is, if you're a good driver and I'm a customer, I've gotten in some cars where I really like the driver. I would love to be able to have that driver every time I go. So we're going to have it set up. It's not set up yet, but I'm going to be able to pick my top 5 drivers. And if they're on duty and they're in my area, I can pick that driver. How many of you that are listening to this are great drivers? You go above and beyond. Wouldn't you love it to be able to build your clientele that you can get paid over and over and over? And
that's something that is Paul, that is something they will really, especially you've touched on 2 important points. You touched on deactivation, which is a big deal. As you know, there is a process ongoing right now. There is a huge conflict between drivers groups and also Uber and Lyft, and in the state of Minnesota, and the city council in Minneapolis are trying to pass some laws that are supportive of the drivers pay. And it's called Fair Pay Minnesota, and it's happening in the city council level, and it's going to happen in the state level this year. Legislation, they're hoping to pass some sort of a way to protect the drivers. But one of the 2 issues that two important issues that you've really touched on, and I think most of our viewers who are drivers are really going to like, is the issue you've touched on, is the deactivation, the unfair deactivation of drivers. For many years that has been going on. Of course, there are some drivers who are not, have done something, and which is again wrong and
Right.
at elevated level, but I'm saying some have been unfairly deactivated. And the other thing you've talked about, which you have mentioned, is we just said just a few minutes ago. So those two are very, very important points that you've made. But go ahead, Paul.
No, no. I mean, I hope that more than the technical details, and listen, we're brand new. We're going to have issues. Like, we're down here in Miami, we're adding on to stuff to the app every day. But one of the things I really want people to understand is that instead of having to form a union as a driver, why wouldn't the company want to listen to the people that are doing the work? Like, I don't want to be adversarial with the drivers. I want us all to be on the same side of the table, because if the drivers do better, if the drivers, are able to make more money, if the drivers are able to be happy, that helps our business. And I won't be getting into a car and talking to drivers and drivers saying they hate the company. Like, I can tell you, it's very seldom that I get into a car with a driver where they say they love working for one of these other companies. My goal is for the drivers to go, you know what? I get to spend more time with my family because I can work 3 days, but because I have customers around the country or customers in this city, or I have other drivers and I make a small piece of what they're doing in an affiliate program, the company's gonna go bigger and bigger and better. And you know what? I was taught a long time ago, I'd rather make 1% of 100 people's efforts than 100% of my own. And so we've been spending enormous amounts of money, time, putting together a program so that it will track everything, so it'll be transparent, so that you are actually really, truly building your own business. People become drivers because they want the freedom and flexibility to build their own business. And unfortunately, these big companies that come in, they're technology companies. They're not people companies. They look at the data and they say, oh, if we take some money from them here and we tweak this algorithm here, our company and our shareholders can make more money. I look at our drivers and our customers as our shareholders. Like, I won't be selling this company. I promise you that. Like, we're working with things down the road where we're going to decentralize the company, where the drivers and the customers will have ownership of it, because I want the people that are actually doing the work to benefit from it. The market cap for Uber and Lyft is trillions or billions or whatever it is, but that doesn't matter to somebody that can't pay their bills. Or, I saw a couple of things around the country where drivers went on strike. And what I looked at, and I understand the sentiment, I understand the feeling, but what I looked at was, you know what? All the company will do will up the pricing for the driver we're on for that short amount of time, pay them a little bit more money, maybe tell everybody we're doing surge pricing, and they'll overcome that. Like, these companies aren't out to help people. And I think in this day and age, our society is starting to figure out big business can still be big business, but you got to have a heart behind it as well.
Definitely, you gotta be a people-driven business. You gotta be about people. And I wanted to add on that another point you had mentioned previously. I forgot to mention, was the idea of drivers building up that relationship with the customer, and having someone that you have done an excellent service driving you. And finally, when you're in town, like you say, requesting those top 5 drivers coming in, and those are amazing. These are some of the changes I think the drivers I've heard are looking for, and I think you have them in Revo Rideshare. And we're going to continue having this conversation with you. We're going to bring you to the state of Minnesota when it's warm, like in the 70s.
I'm not too good to come when it's cold either. I was just,
Yes.
listen, I'm
And
excited.
we will get you here.
People.
We will organize a plan for you to meet with the drivers, to meet with
Right
the
on.
Mulder members, who are the majority rideshare driver group. And I'm telling you, I'm speaking now on behalf of the drivers here in the state of Minnesota. I am going to tell you, Paul, and I'm going to speak to you. This community of drivers, they need someone to come and rescue them from this other, greedy, big Uber and Lyft rideshare company. And I think Revo is at the right time, at the right moment, and we want you to come and launch here. To be honest with you,
Right on. Well,
if you come here once and you meet with our
you're ready.
We want to jump the line. We don't want you to go to Vegas, other places. We want you to come to Minnesota because we have the drivers. Over 12,000 drivers are willing to join just like that, And you and I on the side, we're going to have this conversation. But more importantly, you will definitely have to come here this summer, and we're going to organize for
Listen,
you.
let's do it. Let's get me out there way before this summer. Like we
Yes,
can. I
we
mean, listen.
definitely,
I
definitely,
told everyone that we were gonna, slowly launch. We were gonna launch in Miami, make sure that the deck was there. Now we can start launching in Minnesota quickly. If we have, all I need is the drivers and the clients, and we can do some training. We can get online. You can get them your link, and they can start signing other people up. I mean, because we're active right now on the app. Like you can download the app, but I want to make sure that they, get signed up correctly and moving forward. But I told people that we were going to take our time as we go, but I knew all along that this was going to create a groundswell. All I wanted to make sure is that our app worked basically. I can pick up someone, take them from point A to point B, the drivers get paid. All those things are working. So if we get enough people and we get enough things rolling, we could soft launch this in Minnesota within the next couple of weeks. Like I'm not going to sit around and wait because a revolution needs to strike while the iron is hot. And I'm ready to do it. So you and I can talk offline.
definitely,
But,
definitely,
I'm
definitely. And I'm
excited to
telling
get
you,
you
the
going.
drivers are ready. They're ready. They would like to hear from you. They would like to have a sit down with you,
Right on.
and they will come and they will listen to you. And I'm telling you, they will quickly switch. They're not even going to waste time, So,
Right.
and they
Well,
will
then
get the
listen,
customer.
let's try to get something planned out in the next couple of weeks and I'll fly
Yes.
out there.
All right. Thank you so much, Paul. Thank you
All
for
right.
joining me today. I know you got to
No,
go.